Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a deep dive on a really interesting DePin and AI protocol, something that I've just recently discovered, and I will be hopefully making a variety of other deep dives in the DePin sector because I think it's one of the most interesting ones that is around at the moment. Today we're going to talk about the KOII network. We're going to cover lots of things today, so please feel free to grab yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, sit back, relax, make some notes if you want to. Like you can see on screen, we're covering lots of things, including the problem with information today, how that relates to what KOII is trying to do with this compute network, a few things related to the KOII ecosystem as a whole. We're going to talk about the team, the bull case and bear case as always, and my overall thoughts at the end. So as always, this will be jam-packed. We will have lots of things to cover. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Now, the first thing that we really need to cover is a bit of background. We first need to look into the problem that we have with information today. And I've written a few bullet points here to basically illustrate this. Now, firstly, our news feeds are really not curated by ourselves. In fact, you're probably watching this video via Twitter or YouTube, and they've basically pushed this out to you onto your feed. You didn't probably search for this video. You didn't probably search for my channel. You probably just found it because it came up on your feed. We're the subject to these algorithms from these Web2 giants. And the second thing is that, and it links quite closely to the first point, is are creators fairly rewarded for the attention they get? Am I fairly rewarded for the attention that I'm going to get from this video? Probably not. I think most of the revenue will go to the Web2 giants that basically run this space at the moment. Do we actually own any of the information that we create? And I think this is partially why a lot of people love this idea of Web3 to begin with. And lastly, the censorship of information and lack of aligned incentives. So I think these are all some of the problem, not all, but some of the problem that we have with information today. And in addition to this, accessing information is also pretty difficult, whether it's structuring unstructured data, validating this information, making sure it's correct, security against history, modification, and of course, Sybil resistance. That does make it a little bit tricky. So the question is, how do we make information accessible and reliable? Can we use reputation to make information easy and accessible with blockchains? And the answer is yes, we can. Now, in the current form, we have validators. They are kind of our trustworthy counterparties. And for anyone who has used stuff on chain, whether you're using Uniswap to buy and sell assets, or whether you're using OpenSea or Blur to buy and sell NFTs, you'll notice that we often pay gas fees. And these are essentially the tax that we pay to validators to enact in a trustworthy manner. And that's because what validators do is they lock up their capital, especially if we're talking about Ethereum. They lock up 32 ETH. This is some sort of economic security model that we have, but this itself has problems. Is there a way that we can kind of reduce this tax and kind of use it in a more efficient way? I think that's what we'll talk about, and we'll talk about kind of how KOII can potentially help with this. Now, what's really interesting is if you look into Ethereum, if you look into the history, Ethereum had this vision for being a world supercomputer, I guess, or a world computer. And they had like these three elements to it: the Ethereum network itself, which is the sequencing transaction layer. And they had these two other elements, Swarm and Whisper. Swarm was for data storage and Whisper was for communication layer nodes. And what you'll find is actually Ethereum was fantastic at what it does in terms of sequencing data. Storage layers are great at storing data. However, verifying like the layer information and putting that into the settlement layer can be very difficult. It requires off-chain validation. And what you'll find is like now we've got a ton of storage networks, including Filecoin storage, Arweave, for example. We've got loads of consensus layers, like not only just Ethereum, but just imagine all of the block space that we have, all of the other layer one chains that we have. But in terms of compute networks, yes, we do have a few, but some of them are very specialized. They're not really focusing on the generalized picture. And that's ultimately the idea that KOII is kind of going down, working in this compute sector to make it better. So what actually is KOII Network? It stands for Knowledge, Open and Infinite Internet. It started in 2017 as an idea to build a decentralized social media, really interestingly, but really to help reshape information and focus on this attention economy. So they're trying to capture the value of attention through its compute network. And they're building a peer-to-peer system, essentially a network of global computers that you can run. You can run this yourself and earn passive income on as well. So how does it work? Well, they have these nodes. We call them K2 nodes, and anyone can run them. And what I'll do is I'll leave a link to my referral in the description below so you can kind of get set up yourself. I'll show you what my node looks like as well shortly, and you'll kind of get an idea of how this all works. So the K2 node is basically the KOII network settlement layer. Interestingly, it is a Solana fork, and they've done this because of the increased scalability that you get with transactions being very cheap there as well. And ultimately, that means more of the reward can be given to node runners or node users than validators, like you would have to on Ethereum. So essentially how it works is you have these creators, task creators, who will basically pay for hosting costs. They'll basically put down a bounty for any specific tasks that they need doing. And node users like you and I can run these nodes, run these tasks on our nodes, and we get paid for doing so with that bounty. And we essentially have like a continuous ongoing cycle with this. Now, the idea is, look, whether you're building a database, a news feed, a learning network, a storage service, you basically need like 3 components: incentives, fraud prevention, and synchronization. And the idea is that KOII tasks are these off-chain computations that are verified and submitted on-chain. They're then audited by other nodes, and the system that they have here with these nodes basically enables all 3 of these components. And we're going to talk about that in a lot more detail now. So they call it CARP, C-A-R-P, Compute Attention and Reputation Protocol. And like I mentioned, they are essentially these nodes, these task nodes, where these tasks are off-chain computations that are verified and submitted on-chain and then audited by other nodes. So what kind of tasks are they? Well, there are all sorts of services, from web scraping, indexing, search browsers, social media platform, reputation building, even training AI models. There's a whole range of different services that they can provide. And on the website, on the KOII website, you can see that they're really focusing on these 4 areas: distributed cloud, crowd AI, identity and authentication, and finally Web3 and social. So you can pause the video and have a read of exactly what they're trying to offer here. But the idea is, look, there's a whole range of services that you can run with these tasks. And let's show you how this works exactly. So imagine a task has been created by a company that they need help with. A user like you and I can deploy this task. We can register for this task, and we can stake tokens, and we stake KOII tokens to participate. This is kind of like our economic security, you could say. Our nodes will submit proofs, and then they will audit completed work as well. Now, there's 2 actions that can come from this. Essentially, if there's no issues with it whatsoever, the payout is valid and the task succeeds, you get reward. You get a reward for it. However, during the audit process, if there are malicious nodes, the stake can get slashed, and that means you don't get your reward and you lose some of your stake as well. So that's the system. This is what the actual network looks like. So this is my node. You can see that I'm running a few different tasks on here, and I've had to stake some of my KOII tokens in order to do this. Now, these tasks run perpetually over time. You just have to add to your stake and run this on your computer. You can run it whenever you want. There's an application. You just download it onto your computer. Use my referral link because I'll get a few bonuses there, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And the idea is, look, you stake your KOII tokens, you run these tasks. These tasks complete different actions, and you get rewarded for doing so. So I'll give you an example, right? Hey, look, you can see one of the tasks that I'm actually running is inflation monitoring. And essentially, this is a task run by Trueflation. Some of you will know Trueflation. They essentially calculate like the daily inflation rate year over year in both the States and in the United Kingdom. And essentially what I'm doing right now is I'm running the KOII node to help Trueflation gather information from key websites. My node is basically doing compute to figure out this information from these different websites, hand it over to Trueflation, who can then use it to get their key inflation data. And as a reward for this, I'm getting KOII token rewards, which have been handed by Trueflation themselves. You can see there's a whole range of other tasks, and these are things like, look, ROE verification, social media stuff. All of these are basically even AI stuff as well. All of this is all related to these services that we mentioned above. So you'll find there's a whole range of different tasks. They really vary in kind of what they do. But in terms of how you actually set them up, it all works in the same manner. You register for a task, you stake those tokens and participate. Your node will submit proofs and do audit work, and you'll get rewarded for doing so. That's pretty much how it works. Now, currently this is in testnet. So what I've just shown you, the node that I'm running is in testnet. However, the idea is hopefully those tokens that I'm getting will reward me when it comes to mainnet. Now, what we can see is the testnet growth has been really, really strong, especially in the last couple of months. We see like the number of nodes are up only. So a lot of people are now using this. We're over 7,000 now, which is really cool. I mean, still nowhere near like the end goal. I'm sure KOII wants to eventually get this to millions of computers all over the world. But yeah, it is pretty strong over the last month, which is really good to see. So good growth overall. Now, the KOII token plays a really crucial role in how KOII works, and we've just demonstrated that. You have to obviously lock up capital to complete tasks. You have to pay gas fees. There's governance as well. The KOII token is like really key in kind of how everything works. Now, at mainnet, the network will have 10 billion KOII tokens, after which there will be an inflation rate of 3.65% annually. Now, I found some information regarding kind of the KOII token distribution. I think 50% is going to the KOII Foundation, but eventually these tokens will be given back out to the community over time. 15% for R&D, 12% to the team, 19% to investors. Now, I do know that some tokens will be given out to community projects, so if you want to build something on top of KOII, you can do that directly. Some of the different contributors regarding or building around KOII will definitely get some rewards as well. Now, token launch is going to come around April-ish, which means I hope mainnet is coming around that time. And the idea is I think there should be a public sale going on around that time too. These numbers I got from various different calls. I didn't actually find them from any specific place on the actual website. So I don't know like how exact these are going to be. They may change somewhat, but at least it gives us a rough idea of kind of how things are. And this image basically shows like how like on mainnet there will be like 10 billion KOII, and then like there will be like annual inflation over time, with 50% of the rewards going to attention mining, 50% going to K2 settlement layer nodes. Now, attention mining is really interesting because it links to what we discussed earlier. The idea that we can use our compute network to basically build this trust layer. We can make information accessible and reliable. And so I believe some of the tasks that we will see are going to be around building reputation and building this trust layer, which I think is going to be really, really interesting. So we'll hopefully see lots of products built on top of that. And I think that will be a core part of what happens with the KOII network. Now, some of the other features that KOII have built are these atomic NFTs. Now, what you'll find is that on Ethereum, NFTs are simply kind of tokens that just point to an image or a file. The idea is, look, if a centralized server hosting file goes down, basically goodbye NFT data. Now, with atomic NFTs, the content, whether it's an image or a file or whatever it is actually stored forever on storage networks like Arweave. And so the smart contract code is embedded into the media itself. And so the NFT holder will always own the file that way. They have a wallet as well. It's called the Finny wallet. You can get this. It's a Chrome extension. You can create atomic NFTs on here as well for a very cheap cost. They use Arweave, like I mentioned, to store the content forever. You can use this as your main wallet for storing your KOII tokens and ultimately future tokens as well, because that's what they're working on. So there will be sub tokens. You will be able to mine a variety of other tokens via your node completing tasks. Not sure which ones just yet, but that's something that I have heard. They are also working on a mobile app as well, which I think would be fantastic. What's great is they have a number of grants and mentorship programs. So if you want to build something, you can get in touch with them and you can build something on top of this. They've got a really strong community with this KOII Garden Accelerator program. And also they have these weekly events called the KOII Town Hall. It's in Discord every Thursday. They play lots of games. They share bits of alpha, protocol updates, things like that. So you can go and have a look there. You can see they have these calls in the KOII Garden like every Thursday. So you can see that there are some projects actually building Orca Compute, Brevi, Moti. Like these are projects building on top of KOII already, which is good to see. Now, in terms of the team behind this, you've got Al Morris, who is the main founder or co-founder, I should say, behind KOII. There's tons of interviews that I've actually spent hours and hours and hours watching. These go back from like even 2, 3, 4 years ago. So he's really been focused on this for a long time. There's Kayla, who's also one of the co-founders, and I've written some of the other people on the team and some of their roles as well. So you can go and follow them on Twitter if you want to. Al's super active on Twitter. You'll find him tweeting lots of things around KOII, but also DePin as a whole. Now, in terms of VC raise, it was a little bit hard for me to find, but I did find this information around KOII that they did raise in 2021 with a bunch of different VCs around 1.2 million. I have no idea what the valuation was or kind of what their vesting schedule is like, but I was able to find this. So yeah, maybe some more information that we all need to kind of dig into, but this will probably come out over time anyway. Now, I think lastly, let's just talk about the bull case and the bear case around KOII. I think KOII is building a fairly novel app. Network, in the space, really decentralizing attention, legitimizing it with this compute network, which has real token flywheel effects. It's great to see that the number of nodes are going up only, with a ton of integration using real world data like Truflation, like I explained. There's a wide scope of apps to come on top of KOII, and they're really positioning themselves to be a strong player in this whole DePin narrative, which I think is going to be pretty cool to see. Built from the ground up and they really aim to target users, not just people who are already in Web3 or already in crypto, but also targeting users outside of crypto. And things like a mobile app will certainly help with that. They've already got big grants for applications to develop. They've been able to raise pretty strong community that's growing quite a lot. So I think overall, like, lots of things that are bullish around KOII. Now, in terms of bear case, I couldn't think of as many different things, but I think there are a few things. In terms of revenue generation, it is a little bit difficult to understand and figure out exactly how much revenue something like KOII will make. It's very early days, I guess. We're still in testnet. And being in testnet, that means that there isn't really much of an ecosystem just yet, but we can see that there are projects building on it. Thirdly, and one of the things that I've been thinking about purely from an investment thesis perspective, is how do you value a DePin protocol? One of the things that I've been thinking is, like, do you just compare like the number of nodes to something like Render, Akash, Helium, Hivemapper? It is a little bit tricky and something that I'm still trying to figure out, especially having such a DeFi background, I should say. Obviously, as I mentioned, there are some questions that I had regarding the VC raise and evaluation and some of the tokenomics as well. But again, hopefully that should come out in due time. More so, like in a few months when mainnet actually does come out. And also, like, do people really want to like mint NFTs here on like KOII network rather than chains where there is activity? I think in future, if you want to have a secure network where your NFTs are secured properly with forever storage like on Arweave, potentially yes. But yeah, just a few questions that I had. I mean, I'll be honest, nothing really too major, because I think overall KOII, it's really interesting what they're building. I'm using the node already. I'll give my link to you, my referral link to you guys, so you can all use it as well. You are getting rewarded for completing some of these actions. So yeah, I think pretty good to see. I'm excited to see some of the apps that kind of come on top of this, as well as some of the other services that I can use my compute network or my node to compute and complete some of these tasks and get rewarded for doing so. So yeah, I'll be diving in a little bit deeper, especially when more applications and features come out. But for now, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving what I'm reading. I'm loving the DePin space. And I think this is an underrated one that not many are talking about at the moment. So that's what I wanted to cover today. We covered a lot about everything that you probably need to know about KOII to begin with. If you guys are interested, I will do future updates as well. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on Twitter, give it a like, give it a retweet, and drop a comment down below as well. I'll be back with plenty more content in the near future.